So we actually, this is a little bit different than what was scheduled, but I think you'll find it as exciting, and it brings in a lot of the stuff that was mentioned before on aggregation and more importantly about real life. My name is Mansour. I'm a senior architect at ESRI. ESRI is the premier map making in the world. I don't know if you know about that. But I'm also a news junkie. My Flock RSS feed has, I don't know how many feeds, and I just cache through them. And seriously, the problem that the gentleman was talking about before, where I want to aggregate, is really a big problem for me too. And actually, this was happened to me where in 2006, there was a big war going on in the Middle East. Actually, there's a big war always going on in the Middle East when Hezbollah actually ended up nabbing a couple of Israelis of the Lebanese border, and Israel retaliated across of them. So I was watching the news all the time, and what they did is they were blogging on a minute-by-minute basis on what was going on. And I was watching all these things going on and seeing what was happening. And I wanted to actually see where these events were happening, and more importantly, what was going on. And I could not tell a pattern of things that are happening. And so what I wanted to know is all these good stuff. And back in the days, that was the Web 2.0 and the Mashup and stuff like that. And I decided to actually, I want to totally mutate those blogs and totally change them and view something differently. Can I see something different in this information? Talk about aggregation. And if I actually went down and I went to the items element themselves, I'll look at the HTML, and for the geeks in here, they'll figure this out. There's an unordered list and there's a list item. You can see that actually there were the time, the unordered list, and the list items, and then there were the time periods, and they were showing the location where these things are happening. So I said, that's pretty cool. You know, how can I, they were talking about screen scraping all this information. And I decided to actually use Grease Monkey. Anybody use Grease Monkey here? It's a Firefox extension, actually, which is amazing, that enabled me to drill down on the DOM and cherry pick all this information. And once I had all this information, I was able to take structured information on the client and turn it onto structured information on the client, which is pretty neat. And by doing that, I can locate things. You know, today it's actually fairly simple. You can locate 380 New York Street, but you can also type in telephone numbers or web addresses, or you can type location. But more importantly, you can type in something like that in today's web services. You can type in like a Joe 80 Chicago style pizza in Newbury and Dartmouth in Boston. And actually, Chicago will not appear as a geolocation in here, because it will recognize from the context that Chicago is a style of pizza versus Newbury and Dartmouth is actually intersection. That's pretty neat. Or even better, when it finds out that 20 miles north of Baghdad is actually a location, and will pick up that whole context. And so by turning these into visual widgets, which maps today are fairly, simple to do, I can locate on the map and put them and find things, which is pretty nice. But time is also very important. That's another dimension that people totally forget about what is happening. And so I mashed up space and time in this equation here. And what you end up happening is a totally separate application, which, I go out and I bring up the Firefox and I bring up the extension, I go download the blog and send it to a totally, PHP application, which is model controller viewer, connect to a bunch of web services on the end, bring them back and bring out the HTML. And when I bring out the HTML, what I end up getting is this totally brand new look of a map and a space where things are and a time band where things are happening. And so this was a nice aggregated version of what was happening, because now I can visually see this information and spatially recognize it. But what was interesting is this date information here. What was happening is that all the events were happening in the morning, all the events were happening in the evening, but at noontime, everybody took a break. That was pretty cool, huh? And I thought that was really amazing that I could actually pull this information, aggregate massive amount of data, and bringing in and show this, and talk about predicting stuff that are happening in the future or stuff like that. But I guess even in war, we are still humans. We have to stop and have lunch and prepare for next events that are happening. Anyway, I just wanted to share this information with you guys and just to show you what I did. and it took me 5 minutes, and that was it. Thank you very much for your time.